And we're back in the Crash Labs today. Mr. Mike Wekerle is joining me here today. I'm very excited to have Mike in. Mike, welcome.
Thank you, Denis. This is an absolute pleasure to be in Crash Labs. This is downtown Toronto, in the heart of the city, right off Yonge Street. Man, this is a serious situation here. I'm kind of nervous.
Yeah, it's, not Dragon's Den. But we're getting there for mining.
It's as close as you get there, and it is the Dragon's Den for mining. Denny, you've been a very successful person in your career. You're a geo by trade, but you're a mine finder. That's what I would call you, a mine finder.
So thank you very much.
I just want to get on your next deal. That's why I'm here.
Well, I'm sure we'll get a chance to work together, Mike. So for our listeners, Mike, I mean, those of you who don't know you, your reputation precedes you as a entrepreneur, a financier, venture capitalist here downtown Toronto. I mean, of course, we gave the shout out to Dragon's Den and all of that. But you were involved with like research in motion, all these sorts of things, trading.
Yeah,
is that fair? Like I remember hearing Mike, you're like a legendary trader almost.
It really was. I was very fortunate in my life. I left university after the first year in the summertime to get a job on the floor of the Toronto Stock Exchange, which at that time was moving from Bay Street to the corner of York and King, which is now known as the Exchange Tower. And so that move was taking the old floor from about, let's say, 1/10 of the size of the new floor. So they needed to, at that time, 1982, at the same time, there was a bit of a recession. Everything came off very high. Oil prices, you had a bit of a run in gold, but then it really came down hard in the early 80s. And the exchange had really planned to make the move, so they needed to hire bodies. I had a girlfriend, Vicky Taylor. Her stepfather worked on the floor as a market maker, professional registered trader, they called him, on Stelco, as Jerry Reed. And I got to meet them on the floor, and I walked around and kind of introduced to my few people, and I got the job. So I went to the Exchange Tower, and about 2 weeks later, started my position running orders across the floor. I thought it was the most incredible job. It was exciting. It was fast paced. Everyone started off at, that time it was 10 o'clock in the morning, and they'd finish at 4 o'clock. And at 4 o'clock, the lights go out or the bell goes off. People head right down to Sammy's Exchange, which is the local pub. And I said, wow, how could it be any better? I'm just turning 19 or I've just turned 19. And I said, who has a better job than this? You make good money at that time, which was $12,500 a year, which compared to the other jobs I had was good money. And it was a very exciting time. And unfortunately, within a year of being down there, I was let go because it was a contraction in the economy. The firm that I worked for was a Montreal-based firm. It was in the process of getting taken over by a bigger Montreal-based firm. So they had, no office here. I think they had 6 employees. They went down to 3 and, last in, first out type thing. So, but the great news about this is I went to anyone who hears this podcast, I went to the exchange still having my credentials and my badge for 30 days. Maybe it was 35 days. And I went there every day, got there first thing in the morning. So I was first man in, always the last guy to leave. And I'd sit there, maybe read the paper in the morning, walk around, talk to people on the floor, try to keep involved with certain things there, never give up, make sure I was always there. So for the odd 30 odd days I did that, I was fortunate enough to meet a gentleman by the name of Alec Miller, whose nickname was Barney Miller. And he was a legendary guy on the floor. He worked for First Marathon, which is an emerging company that was run by Lawrence Bloomberg and Bob Disbrow. And it was probably the most fortuitous thing that ever happened to me. But, good luck comes with hard work. Hard work comes with good luck.
Yeah.
So you have to put the hours in and good things happen. So anyone out there who is feeling depressed or they're not getting the right spot or right place, show up earlier, leave later, and it's going to turn around. Give it some time. And that's what happened to me. And I started my career on the floor of the exchange. At the age of 21, I was trading. So that was the age to actually physically be able to trade. And by 23, I was on the desk at First Marathon on the institutional side, growing what was then called a liability book position, which was principally trading and, making large block trades in kind of trading the market to know where you could cover long, short, and create this block volume, which was at that time, with very big commissions. I think it was 25 cents a share when I started on the desk. Now it's 0.00025% to trade. So that business has gone the way of the dodo bird. So, but it was really exciting, and it shows that hard work, you get good luck. Good luck is hard work. And, you just got to adapt to your situation.
Now, that's a crazy experience in the sense that you yourself were rewarded for putting in the hard work, being there, being there, being hungry, and somebody took notice of that.
Yes.
In your investing pursuits, how important is that when you look across the table, you get somebody coming in with an idea, a business, whether it be a project, seeking out venture capital? Do you look for you in that person, that hunger, that appetite?
Yeah, I don't know if it's me, but I do look for that person that has that hunger, that hard-working personality. And we talked about one of those guys today. There's two people that I can relate to that I've only met recently, and I'm now helping them raise money. I'm investing in their companies. One is Jordan Black of Ramp, and the other one is Peter Slew of Heritage Minings right now. And they're both very similar in character. They turn every page to make sure they can find that next client. Peter, I think, drove all the way to Calgary, then he drove all the way back. Like, these guys put the effort in. They are going to be successful. They're going to do the right thing. They're getting on the drill, and they will say no is not an option. They just want to keep going. So hard work is what I look for in investing, but sometimes you got to have a lot of structure on it. Sometimes hard work is great, but sometimes a team that you put together, as you know, in the mining business, the best teams will win. It's not one single person. It's the team that pulls that all together.
Now, for you, mining can come and go. Obviously, like you've done a lot of things. You've been in the, with research in motion in the technology space, Dragon's Den, with all kinds of wild things that come through the door there. Is now a good time for mining for you?
Yeah, so I started my career with John Lytle and Rick Hallisey at First Marathon, and I used to go to the office at 5:30 in the morning because I was calling markets on Canadian gold stocks. And we had certain ones that we liked, and those were where we bore out some of the best companies. We were the first to bring out a very famous man by the name of Seymour Schulich, who partnered with Pierre Lassonde and started Franco-Nevada. Probably the smartest guys I've ever met is Seymour. And the fact that him and Pierre, which are both legendary in the mining business, created this royalty structure in gold mining, which was brilliant because it was very common in oil and gas, and Seymour was very much an oil and gas guy. But he turned this knowledge into a royalty structure in mining and built probably one of the biggest companies ever built in Canada. Definitely one of the most profitable and best performing stocks ever in Canada. And then it was so successful, he spun out Euro Nevada. So, they did some really, really interesting things back. And that was in the early 80s that I had the fortunate position to be involved with him. He's a good friend of Lawrence Bloomberg's, and therefore I became, probably his main trader on his stock because that's where he did his banking. But an absolutely legendary guy.
So you got your beak wet early in the mining space.
That's 100%
sure.
correct. So, and I got to meet Rob McEwen at that time. His companies were broken apart, Wharf, CSA Management, Gold Corp, etc. I was part of the process to put them all together. And it's very similar to what's going on now. I think the mining sector, especially the junior mining sector, is the cheapest it's been in my 41 years of being in this industry. I've never seen it like this. I think gold is going to go to $10,000 an ounce by the next 10 years. I think it'll be $5,000 an ounce within 5 years of here. Could be within 5 months. You don't know. But I like to put a very conservative time horizon. I said, for investing, you got to have, a time horizon where it's 5 years to 10 years. 5 years will make a brand. 10 years will make your business.
And like, as a trader, someone who's, understands the liquidity of the markets, the different constraints, the things, where would you bury your efforts right now in terms of, you can afford to speculate too. You can play the juniors, but do you kind of look to balance that out?
Well, I would definitely, for your return, I think that you're a great example of having put your your money on the line and go for it all because you've done that and you did that with Newfound Gold. It's just a fantastic story. So I like to take the leverage mining place, but I'd like to look at the numbers, look at the due diligence that's been gone into that project, do your own research, have people you can refer to in the industry. There's a lot of great geos that work at different mining companies that are great out there. They have a great sounding board for some of your investments, but you have to balance it between that mid-cap level, which is the starting or just producing at this point. There's a lot of great producing companies with assets in Guyana. There's like G2 is one of my favorite stocks. G Mining just bought out by Reunion, so it's the other half of that play at Oko. I think Pat Sheridan and Dan Noon are second to none in management. I always like to back the jockey, and I think the stock is going to be taken out this year. My guess is that it goes out at $4 at some point in time, and then you spin into a new company, G3, that I think is worth somewhere between 50 cents to $1. So whether it's a month, whether it's 6 months, 10 months, you can't put a time limit on investing. You make your investment, try not to go into margins, which forces you in and out. I've done that before in my life, and you always get taken out of the stock market at the worst time, and you're coming in at the worst time. So if you want to protect yourself, stay out of margin, invest your company, and when you invest, take a horizon. Your horizon should never be less than 2 years, and always look at this as a 10-year plan.
And is it healthy to keep a good amount of cash on hand right now, or just fucking don't?
I think it's healthy. I just don't do it.
Yeah, sure.
I'm almost robbing Peter to pay Paul. I'm switching on one to another because, I just see a lot of great opportunities right now. But the two areas I'm investing in is right now. So critical minerals and precious metals is the one area that our new firm, Altitude ECM, my partner Gene McBurney, have come back to. Gene's a legendary lawyer and financier, corporate finance in mining, probably the best guy I've ever worked with. And then I look at this other area that's really emerging. It's also mining, but it's data mining. So data centers. I think AI and data centers, I'm putting a lot of work into it right now. A lot of the Bitcoin miners like Hive and Hut 8 are turning their business into a data center business. Huge margins. A big transaction just happened in Montreal, where, Innovium got purchased. And when I went and saw that facility, it is state of the art. What it took you days to process before takes you seconds now. And the technology, the evolution of AI as it relates to the NVIDIA's chips and the process of data centers is exploding. So we're working on a few projects right now, and data centers is a big, big part of our new line business.
I like the data center bet because I think too, like from a national kind of security, sovereignty, I mean, not sovereignty, but it's national security perspective.
I think it's sovereignty too. Yeah. I think you have to be up there because technology will lead what people do, and it changes so quickly these days. And you have to do what you know and how good you are. Well, Toronto, or Canada, for example, had just the Nobel Peace Prize from the University of Toronto hinted. That professor was a godfather of AI. Yeah. So here we are. We have a homegrown talent here. ChatGPT was grown out of Toronto.
We have Bengio in Montreal. He's another big guy, right?
Huge.
Joshua Bengio.
Awesome, dude. Then you got the guys like Bruce Croxton and Eckhart that, they're round 13, and just so much innovative capital. The pension funds are on top of it. I was talking to a guy over at Omer's Taku, and he's got a whole program doing AI software. So we're really on top. We have the University of Waterloo that's ranked very high for engineering as it relates to technology. And then you have a host of whether it's Montreal, Ottawa, Vancouver, Dalhousie, all across Canada have great learning institutions, and the focus on technology is immense here. So I think that Canada has a forefront position in technology. A lot of great companies were born from Canada, and I think now we need to push the pedal down and build as much data centers as we can to control our destiny and co-locate, because one, we have the power, we have the intellectual capital, and the facilities are here. I just found one just recently. Yeah,
it's crazy. I was talking to a buddy of mine. I met this guy, I want to say like last year. And he's in Calgary, but he was involved in oil and gas and brokering deals between oil and gas companies and capital and well drilling, I guess. And then he got into the policy side with the government. Now what he's doing is connecting data centers to dry gas plays. So,
Unbelievable.
and then he's taking a royalty on the gas. So let's say there's a, X amount of, megawatts required for the power plant, for the data center. He clips a royalty for 25 years or whatever it is on the gas. And he's connecting party A to party B. So whether it's like Hewlett Packard and their data center with, dry gas play, but he was telling me that there's so much dry gas in Alberta that's landlocked that you can't really liquefy. You can't, there's nothing you can do with it, right? You can just
it's a brilliant idea.
You make power. That's it.
Brilliant idea. And there's a great company that does the turbines. They have the exclusive rights for turbines. It's Len at Enterprise. And so they make these turbines that are gas powered. They could light up a neighborhood with their powering. And this is natural gas. That's as green as you're going to get, because if you want to go green, people think that mining is a dirty business. Well, you need mining to go green. It's all the rare earth elements. It's the nickel. It's the copper that you need to provide that power. Silver. There's so many more, titanium, vanadium. We can go on and on, but you need that power to drive that business. To drive that business, which then powers everything, is what's creating this kind of demand in AI and data centers, because we're now living in a world where you don't have any storage. You back it up through the cloud. So everything has now been so far, we get to a point where, you're going to be able to, do things, on your television that you would have done before in physical form. And a lot you can do now. I'm just a bit archaic. I'm not that good at all these stuff.
But what's cool too about the critical metals space and what Canada has to offer is, and I'd be interested to see if somebody takes it up, like if it gets taken up in a mainstream way. But with Earth Labs, originally we were Gold Spot Discovery. So we were a pioneer of AI and machine learning for mineral exploration, right? We sold that to ALS Chemex. And now that's, maybe we were a little early, right? And
you did well.
We did well, but now it's a big thing. And so I look at, innovation and technology and what we could do in Canada, and back to your critical metals and rare earths. Like if you look in China, one of the weird things with the rare earths in China is that like they kind of have the secret sauce of processing these things, and nobody knows how that works. So I'd be curious to see, with all of the brain power that we have here in Canada, if we can get off of hating on mining so much that it actually gets a lot of these really bright young people to task on, hey, listen, let's go solve this enigma. Let's see if we can figure out some processing technologies, things like that. Like I'd be curious to see if the venture capital would be
It really is the right way. If you look at all the job markets, the one market that I think is, you just hit it right on the head. The mining market is really one that people don't think to apply from. Probably at the best time in your life as a young student growing up is to get into mining in various forms, whether it's processing, manufacturing, drilling. There's so many parts of that element.
Automation.
There's just so many things you could do. But right now, I do think you're right with the fact that I know in the lithium market, the Chinese have been able to actually take a different process, and they're 7 steps ahead of everyone else.
Yeah.
And therefore,
rare earth too.
Yeah. And they can regulate the pricing on it. So, right place, right time. There's a lot of money to be made. You think of the size of Canada and 40 million people. Then you think of the size of the U.S. and 500 million people. The opportunity is here. The land opportunity is here. And there's lots of smart people in Northern Ontario and in the Yukon, Whitehorse. And there's some great opportunity, because a lot of this technology is driven off the old school kind of historical facts of land living and how they did it, how they panned for gold, or how they found certain materials that would have different characteristics, whether it's in medicine or in technology. But now we're going to a new evolution, and I think there's going to be some great breakthroughs. And I'm hoping some of those young Canadian kids are going to do that.
Yeah. Now I wonder, like you get a chance to rub shoulders other than other people that I have on the pod, which are largely always like sort of mining echo chamber types. That are great. I mean, that's fantastic. And maybe it's not fair to them, because I know they do play outside of mining as well, and they have networks beyond. But with you in particular, you're connected. You have, capital, friends, industry, participants. You're rubbing shoulders with people that play in the market, in various markets, not just mining. Do you see a growing appetite towards those people? Like people that are like traditionally generalists or never touch mining, kind of revisiting it now and saying, hey, listen, this is something I would get behind?
You know, it's amazing. I've seen a lot more people that historically would have not been involved in mining calling me up now and asking me for my top picks in mining right now. I think what's going on here with $3,000 gold, and you see the likes of the majors like Agnico, who's just a spectacular company. Sean Boyd and Amara have done an absolute excellent job. They do as much cash flow. They could buy companies every day with the cash flow they're doing right now. They have two mines that historically, if you would have said, you know, the Detour mine or Malartic, two excellent mines. If you would have thought of those at 0.8 and 1.1 grams back in the old days when the 90s, you wouldn't have looked at those mines. Yet they're one of the most profitable mines Agnico has. They're doing over 800,000 ounces a year, and you can times that by $3,000. And that margin is now growing and growing because their fixed costs are set. I really think that there's great money to be made. You know, Kinross is in that league as well with a $20 billion market cap. But I think that, you know, Canada has proven time and time again that we are the mining country. We have the capital raising country, and it's unfortunate that the likes of Alcan or Falconbridge, Inco don't exist anymore because they were our mainstay. Now they're in foreign hands, but we can find the next Inco, the next Falconbridge, the next Alcan, and I'm seeing every day young guys like Jordan come into my office and be so excited. And they're owners. They're not just, you know, they're not just playing the lifestyle plays. They're getting a good paycheck and options. They physically took their money and bought 3 or 4 or 5 million shares, and they're put their heart and sweat into it right now. And I think it's great. You know, like I said, I wasn't fortunate enough to as my daughters who bought Bitcoin early. I kind of saw it go, and I thought at 16,000 it wasn't going further. So there, that shows you on my capability there. But they've done very well in some of those areas. And it's the same thing. You know, sometimes new environments and new technologies and different mindsets need a younger mind to go there and make that investment to cross that bridge. Sometimes you get stuck in your ways of how to invest, and you need to have the exposure to a younger group of people who will give you a different perspective on those investments. I wish I had that back in the day. In 2012, I've been a lot richer.
Yeah. Did you play kind of all of the flavors of whatever the market had to offer? Like when it was weed, did you
No, I was on Dragon's Den at the
thing?
time, and they prohibited us from doing anything in cannabis. So we didn't. Joe Mimram, a great guy. Joe's one of my favorites. He had to resign from Canopy at the time and give up his options because it was not legal to do it, and therefore CBC could not endorse it. And, you know, I always was of the opinion that, you know, weed is a weed, you know, it grows anywhere. And, you know, the barrier to entrance is nothing. You know, anyone can do it. Then when you understand that you're going to now compare it to alcohol, I don't think that's a good comparison. I think that even as a social, benefit, it has its own drawbacks. I grew up born in 1963. So a lot of my life was, you know, part of that whole kind of, you know, experimentation in life. Sure. But I think that at the end of the day, you know, whether it was booze or marijuana, a lot of the situation comes back to the same thing. You got to make sure there's always side effects. You got to take care. You can't operate a vehicle. There's always a situation. I've seen many people go down that have been in exasperating pain because they, you know, one night of one bad decision. And I say this to a lot of them. I got 6 kids, and I say that to them that, you know, make sure you understand it's a controlled environment, but, you know, it doesn't make you smarter. Yeah. It doesn't make you brighter. It's not going to make you richer. And when you do it, unfortunately, what's happening today with all the fentanyl coming across the border, it might just kill you. So I've taken a different approach that I would have taken back when I was younger. And it has to do with the fact that, you know, I know I'm not smarter when I'm drunk. I know I'm not smarter if I've ever smoked a joint. I know that I need to be on my best game. So that's what I'm trying to do now. And like I said, no one's perfect. You don't go through that. But if you have that mindset, and then when if you're ever going to have drinks, just make sure you're in a safe home environment with people overseeing you as well. I just think that that's one of the big tragedies of this world right now. You know, we portray money and glory is that kind of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, you know?
Yeah, exactly. No, I think for sure that's some pretty good advice. And I think, you know, with myself, when I looked at the weed market, I kind of saw it similarly in the sense that, like, yeah, it's a plant. it's not cigarettes. You know, you're not going to smoke a pack of weederettes every day, right? But they were being sort of priced that way.
That's right.
And then I remember some of the early canopy crops kind of going rotten. I sat the whole thing out though, but then I felt like an idiot because I made no money.
I sat it out too.
I sat it out and I was like, I don't know. Like, am I smart to sit it out or am I just
think you were smart because a lot of the guys who didn't sit it out and played it actively at the end of the day lost as much at the end that they made in the beginning. The greed factor picked up. So all these went boom to bust. A few of the early day guys, which were the promoter guys, got out, made a lot of money and cashed out and did well. Great. You know, I've seen that in the technology boom of the 99, 2000 era. But I think the majority of people who were in the business that were big at that time of the business made a lot. But the one problem about making money is you spend money just as fast. Yeah. Fast cars, fast houses, all this stuff that comes through. You just upgrade your lifestyle. Unfortunately, you're paying after-tax dollars, and then when you pay your capital gains on that, and then the stocks go to zero, that's not a fun experience.
What do you think is going to happen here in real estate in Canada?
I think it's going lower. I think that, you know, there definitely has a housing issue, but right now we got too much overbuilding right now. The condo market is saturated. Prices are way too high for the average person. So I think two things are going to happen. One, rental prices are going to come down by a function of the amount of availabilities that's out there. As that comes down, you're going to see less housing starts, which is going to scare off the banks from lending money. Once you choke off the lending part of the housing market, then land prices go down. But we've had a hell of a run since 2000 for 25 years. Real estate has not beckoned to go down at all. Last time real estate went down was probably between 1991 and 95. And then since then, it's been straight up. So I really think for the sake of this next generation, I would like to see it come down. And I would be a patient buyer, sit on the sidelines, and I would rather rent right now than buy a house.
Do you think that there could be like a cascade effect from that blow up though? Like in terms of like with the average Joe? You know, there's a lot of people, man. That's all their money is tied up in their real estate.
Yeah,
like
you know what? I'm very against these home equity loans where you keep borrowing against your house because that's your retirement. I always tell people, you know, you're just doing what you shouldn't be doing. You spend all this time to build off and pay off a mortgage so you can retire at whatever age you retire.
Sure.
But, you know, if you start borrowing against a house, you just kind of turn that upside down. So use that as your retirement. I don't think to be a cascade event. I think it's to be slowly melting down. But the one thing that always concerns you is that we don't really run the economy, and inflation is a global issue, whether it's coming out of the Far East or the U.S. or Germany or England. Your issue is that if you have inflation moving higher and faster, which I do believe it is going higher, you're going to have pressure on refunding the national debt. The national debt is, 37 trillion in the U.S., where would it be 3 trillion or 2.5 trillion? Mm-hmm. You know, you got to do every year. This was Frank Stronach saying, because he said, if we don't take 5% per year of national debt down, there'll be nothing in 50 years for the children. Mm-hmm. So that would theoretically put you out of debt in 20 years, but nothing goes in a straight line. You aim for 5%, but sometimes you do 2 and 3 and 4. So it'll probably do 50 years to get it down. But under that thesis of repaying your debt as a country, is no different as a human being or as an individual. You will then reduce that. And he gave me a whole great speech on the economic charter of rights, he calls it. And if everyone wants a good look at the video, Frank Strong, the economic charter of rights. You know, he's 93 years young. He looks like he's 63. And he's an absolute brilliant man, having built a multi-billion dollar company called Magna.
Yeah. Wow, that's phenomenal. I'll have to check that out. So, geez, I don't know on the Canadian landscape. I don't know what's going to happen here. These are tumultuous political times. We got tariffs going back and forth, trade wars, all this kind of stuff. Anything to comment on any of that, or are you kind of trying to stay the hell out of it?
I generally don't say too political, but I always tell the way I'm feeling and what I'm doing. I try to be, when people, I don't like to be hypocritical. I'd like to say the truth, what I believe the truth is right now. But I think since the last 25 years, we are in the best position to have an election. We have Trudeau, who unfortunately, probably stayed a term or so too long, and just got offside from what he started with, 3 terms ago. Yeah. but I think Mark Carney has the financial capability. He's a very well-established individual. He's loved by the country right now for his conservatism, but mostly for his liberalism as well. He's been part of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. I think he's a good challenge. The NDP continue to do what they're doing, and the Green Party continue what they're doing. The Bloc seems to be moving in the right direction, and I'm backing Pierre Poilievre. I think that Pierre has got the right ideas out there. I saw him speak, and I was undecided at first, but when I saw him speak, I was really captivated by his personality and the ability he had to take everyday issues into making it simple. You shouldn't sit down and need, a 1 hour or a 300-page document to explain a situation. If it can be on one page, put it on one page. And that's Pierre and how he said it to me. And it was really straightforward. Now, we all might not agree with every policy, but I said the general thesis of get things done, make this country better, go back to creating jobs, go back to making it, a less government, more employee driven, where people do better, and entrepreneurialism is adored. We got to go back and recreate Heroes of Canada. We don't do enough of that. We tend to put each of all of us are down. If some guy's doing well, another guy's looking at him and saying, "Oh man, that guy got it easier." He'll think of something, rather than patting him on the back. I don't know, like I think we should have like pictures of Wayne Gretzky in all these schools. He's a superstar.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of energy trying to tear everybody down.
Yeah, it's a negative energy. Like I said, I live in a glass house, so I can't say too much, but I've had a lot of people throw darts at me, and I just get used to it. So be it. Tomorrow's a new day. That's the one thing my mother used to say. Every day's a new day. Sun shines tomorrow morning. Start all over again. Don't look back. Look forward.
Yeah, it's funny how we try to, as a society, cut tall poppies all the time.
Yeah,
it's
terrible. I find it when I'm around people that start talking that negativity. And if I know that person, I've done it a few times. I say, just a second, I know that guy. Let me get him on the phone because I disagree with you on what you're saying. Do you really know him? Oh, no, I don't really know him. I go, no, I'm going to get on the phone. And I want to ask you what your name is. So when the next time you do this, you might be on the other side of the equation here. Yeah. And, it's funny enough, it's all for sport. To enhance them over other people at they call it in German Schadenfreude, at the destruction of someone else. Yeah. So you take your opportunity to put someone down to make you look better. That's not a way to live your life. It's a bad moral situation.
Yeah, I agree. On the politics front, I can't disagree with much there. I met with Pierre as well, and that's pretty much my takeaway too. I didn't love the slogans, like how everything was a slogan.
Right.
But I get it.
Yeah.
And it's that
you get it. You get it. I think a light bulb goes on. You go, wow. Now it's explained simply. I don't,
that's the point of the slogan.
That's right.
It's like, it just like crunches it down into just a soundbite that everyone can understand.
That's right. And that's what we need. We need, keep it simple.
Keep it very simple because the masses need it simple in small bite sizes. Yeah. And some of these things are complicated issues, right? But anyway, it's true. I'd sooner have that happening than the other side, which was just kind of saying for a long time, everything's okay and we're great and we're feeling great and we're here. We got each other's backs and and we're looking great. And it's like, well, no one's buying that.
No, it was a bad hangover. It was a bad hangover. And you know what? Unfortunately,
ring rust is real.
Yeah. And, unfortunately, the people who would encourage it could profit from it. Yeah. The people who didn't want to do certain things and would be able to profit from moving paper around, as I call it, were profiting for the demise of the average person because some of kind of overstanding policy that would tell them how to live their life. Like I said, I have a 4-month-old baby and a 34-year-old girl. So I got a wide range. And, when it comes to schooling and teaching, my mother was a teacher. My sister was a teacher. My other sister's a professor. So I come from a long line of teaching. I kind of feel we lost kind of sense with what is important in teaching. You're there to provide something to educate the children to a better place. And everyone's not the same. Some might be a mathematician, some might be more of an artist. But the one thing we can't do is reshape their minds into something that we believe certain people should be. And I know there's lots of different, views out there, but it's the parents' job to take care of the children. It's the teacher's job to teach the children and include the parents. One thing I think has been a huge issue lately in Toronto, more so in Toronto than in other urban centers, is the crime that's going on, break-in entries with guns of kids between the age of 12 and 15 going into a house, and armed robberies, going into a car and hijacking cars, knocking jewelry stores with a bat and stealing their things. Like, that gotta stop. And I think that the parents should be charged, because those kids should not be out at night walking around with the crowbar. And if they're walking out of the house with a crowbar, I'd be asking a few questions, my kid. Yeah, so those parents better be aware, because I'll tell you, that's the biggest crime. Kids with guns, shooting guns that don't even know how to, shoot a hockey stick.
Well, they're kids.
Kids.
Like this is the whole thing. Like,
it's unbelievable. We're doing something really wrong. I know the police is trying their best right now. I've got lots of respect for DemQ and the police, but I think right now we need to really focus on the community. I know certain neighborhoods have community watch lists and community, email groups that they can say, hey, we have problems here, problems there, but we need to go back to that community affair. I know when I was growing up young in Shepherd, we didn't lock the door.
We never locked the door. I remember leaving. I remember getting in trouble if you took the keys out of the car. Like, the visor.
Yeah.
You leave them there.
Yeah.
That's where the keys belong.
Hey, what are you doing? I can't drive the car.
Yeah. Who took the keys out of the car?
Yeah.
It's like, what a departure. I was thinking about that though too. It's an interesting thing with like cultural Canada.
Yes.
And like, I was watching the Tragically Hip documentary. I don't know if you saw that.
That is absolutely,
it's insane, right?
Spectacular.
Dude, it's wild.
Yeah. What's his name?
Gord Downie?
But the producer, Don Allen.
Oh.
Don Allen was what produced it. What a great job. Gord Downie's a legend. Like, there's another legend that, I think every Friday we should play a Tragically Hip song and say, way to go, Gord. Thanks for coming and bringing this music. I wish you were back here.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I was thinking about it. I go, what if a new Tragically Hip emerged tomorrow? Would we ever find out? Will we ever know? Would there ever be like what? Like, we don't share, like you're talking about how important community is. And I'm thinking about this the whole time. I'm going, we used to have like CBC. We used to have like, a handful of stations on TV. Most of the content, CRTC rules, Canadiana. We had newspapers. We had a lot, but now it's all digital. It's all, so you only hear about the negative stuff too. Like, it's all sensationalism.
It is, you watch TV over a period of time and you're going to see the same articles come out. But now I'm going to give myself a plug here, I think, because I've got the solution.
To it.
So in a bull market trade, I bought this club called the Alma Combo. And definitely, if I go back and 10 years later after having run it and losing money, I probably would have not made that decision. But I saved the Alma Combo and a group of people, including me. And I've been working hard to try to, keep things moving forward. I got a great staff: Mike Salute, my daughter Danielle, Andre Doucette, Taylor Pigeon, Big Mike. I don't even know his last name. We just call him Big Mike. If you go past the Alma Combo, that guy at the front door is Big Mike. You know exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
But we have great staff, great people, no turnover, and we do events. We had a pivot from running concerts of the old days because Live Nation runs the world in concerts. Yeah. If you don't have Live Nation on your badge, you're probably not playing major centers. And if Live Nation has you, they own probably the majority of the small venues in Toronto and outside of Toronto. You're locked out because of what they call a radius clause. So it's really difficult to compete against them. They own the biggest ticketing platform, and they're like the behemoth out there. I'm happy they're doing what they do. They do some great things, but I think that they have to be kinder to smaller venues, share a bit more on the artist side of smaller venues, and I hope that can be there. But I've joined partners with a gentleman by the name of Jesse Dillon, who was the Gene and Jesse show back in the 80s and 90s, if you remember the champ on Q107.
Yeah.
A great guy. So they have a digital platform for fan engagement. Iron Maiden's one of their first ones. They have a dozen people, but the real intricate part of this is they're going to be joining with the El Macombo, broadcasting from the El Macombo. Digitally, we have a latency only equal to Much Music because we're on the same pipe going to Robert Street. We have incredible sound. Unfortunately, on the second floor, there's only 500 people that will be able to see the show and 300 downstairs. They're totally soundproof, but can you imagine this? Small venue, big stage, right? So amplifying on a global basis. They do the sound of the UFC with the UFC. They have 5 million followers. This is all about engagement. A guy who's a gamer is a guy by the name of Shroud, has millions of followers. He's part of their gaming platform as they have a situation where they engage gaming, which is, I'm a bit older for that. Like that was kind of, what came after me, but my kids do a lot of gaming. But in all the games that you're playing, there's music attached to it. So gaming music go really close together. So if you want to get involved in the next Tragically Hip, you're going to need to talk to your kids and get your kids who are playing on whatever Madden game or what's going on. And at the same time, these sharing digital apps like Hangar 3, which is the company that Jesse runs, and Stephen Tapp, they're just incredible people. I'm really looking forward to the emergence of this combined El Macombo Hangar 3. And if you go and push down the app, it's great fan engagement, ticket sales, merchandise, auctions. There's just everything. So I think this is going to be the way that, for a fractional price that people are going to be able to step in and get new music and create content themselves, adding content through channels that, if you're a young singer that you don't have the exposure, this might be the way to do it.
Okay. That's my question, because I have a kind of a music history too. When I was young, I had band and all this kind of thing.
We're finding something. I'm finding something. No,
yeah,
Denny's
got some deep, dark secrets. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But so what was your big song, Denny, when you were playing? Your high school, you go out there, you're playing.
Oh my God!
Grade 11, you go out there with your band.
We used to play. We had lots of different sets. We used to play classic rock in bar bands and stuff, and then we had our own original stuff. We recorded Yeah.
Wow. What was the name of your band?
I had two bands. So, this is really one band, but just two names. Makeshift was the original.
Makeshift.
One.
Okay.
And then the Prefect.
I think I heard of the Prefect.
Well, the Prefect. We had a couple of. We won a couple of big. Contests,
right? I've heard of that.
It was
all right. So I give Jesse a plug. Go download the Prefect. There. What songs should we download?
Program Lives on for the Prefect is probably the coolest song, and then and that one was on. Remember satellite TV?
Yeah. The channel, we were on like Stingray channels.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That was like our claim to fame. We ended up having that tune on that.
Played over and over again.
For
sure.
That
is serious. I never did that. I wish I could. I'm a guitarist, but I'm very poor. Thank God I was a decent trader because I would never have made it as a guitarist.
Oh, me neither. I mean, I played guitar too, and I actually left the band early, and then the guys kept going. But
so let's do a recap, guys. We're listening here. The Prefect. The song is called
Programmed Lives.
Programmed Lives. I'm downloading that song.
Yeah, it's probably on Spotify. And anyways, so it was, it was fun, and it was a big part of my youth.
Wow, for sure.
I can appreciate how hard it is now, especially you got a venue, how hard it is for young artists to get exposure today.
Very true. My daughter's an artist, Michael Wekerle. She goes by the name of Rocky. And she's a great artist, all original music.
Does she have anything on Spotify?
She does. She's all over Spotify. Yes, she is.
Okay, so we can find her at Raquel Wekerle on Spotify?
Yeah, Raquel Wekerle, but she's now doing her branding called Rocky.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So that's it. So give her a good shout out here.
All right.
So we got some real music. From mining to music, we got everything covered here.
Yeah, we got everything on. Well, that's what we do. It's awesome.
Thank you.
It's great, man.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thanks for doing everything you do, and I hope you can come back and we can talk
anytime. We'll come back.
Markets.
We'll talk markets. Let's do something just after the election gets called or in the election time frame. Sure. I think we could do some pretty good imitations of people. I think I'll do. You can do Paul or I will, but maybe you'll do Carney. You know, I'll imitate Carney and s'il vous plaît in French.
S'il vous plaît. I have to study Carney. He's new on my scene now, so I have to study his
that'd be great.
mannerisms.
Well, we'll do that for the next round on the Crash Labs podcast.
Wicked. Well, thank you so much. Thanks, Mike, for coming in. And yes, thank you everybody for listening. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Thank you.